Hello friends, Anderson here, and we are once again building more of our world of Aina, which we started in the previous episode of this series of world building with Worlds Without Number, the excellent game that you can also get free off of DriveThruRPG. But of course, if you can, it would also be great if you could buy it and support the publisher. It would also be great if you could like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell of awakening. And we left off our world of Aina after creating two whole empires and a global cult cabal that are vying for the macro scale of the world. And we also decided on recent historical events being a conflict that created this empire of unity as a counterweight to the decadent empire that is preying on the rest of the world to fuel its fiendish lusts. Maybe they're fiends. Maybe that's an empire of fiends. I like that. That could actually be really cool if we have like a fiendish, like a tiefling sort of empire, like half demons or something like that, where, because I'm thinking of, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Sunless Seas. There is basically an embassy of hell in London, in fallen London, and I always found that very, very fancy and interesting. So I kind of think maybe that'd be cool that the empire, the fiendish empire, is literally a fiendish empire. That could be maybe nice, having our mega city, because we're building a fantasy mega city here as our nation, but we first have to flesh out the region today. Anyway, to have an ambassador from the like a decadent fiend is like, yes, hello, I'm drinking blood in my tea, it's very nice. Something like that would be maybe pretty neat to do. But for now, we have to, again, delve into the structure of building our backdrop. And now we have reached the region level, which means we have to name our region. So we need to decide what the locals call our general area. And I think in this case we need to decide what the name of our nation, of our city is, because that's the biggest influencing factor. So we kind of need to jump the gun a little bit and name our mega city now. We already went through this song and dance last time, where the only thing that Worlds Without Number doesn't really provide are naming tables. At least I haven't found them. If there are any, please let me know. But we have the Book of Random Tables, so we can use the fantasy country name tables. There are 3 of them. I guess we'll just roll 1 percentage die and pick out of the 3 whichever we like best for our megacity region. 96, that is Vinostan, Bardr, oh my god, I can't even, and Coleraine, okay, Coleraine I can at least pronounce, and I think it also has a ring to it. So we are adventuring in the fantasy megalopolis of Coleraine. The next step is to choose major geographical features, and we also have some building tools for that. I think for our region I just want to first get a general idea of the theme of these terrain features. So I think the first one will set the tone a little bit, and then we'll build off of that and maybe roll a few more times. We're invited to pick 6 major geographical features. I think since we are forming the surrounding area of a city, it should be a bit more homogeneous, but we'll see what we get. So if something is completely out of sorts or we can't find an explanation for it, we might have to move that to that's what's out there, but that's not part of the region or something. So we have an idea of what's next to our region, or what the next kind of different territorial features are that aren't part of Colerain's immediate surroundings. But for now I want to know what place Coleraine is immediately in, because I think that gives us already a little bit of shape to our city. We roll a die 20. That would appear to be a 12, which is what? A pit? A deep or some other underground megastructure collapsed and left a hole with a diameter measured in tens of miles. Okay, so we are in a collapsed megastructure some ancient architecture underground, the Underdark caved in or something and left a huge pit, and we've built into this pit. Why are we building in a pit? Why aren't we building around the pit? Is there maybe like storms over on, like, where we're using the pit to evade like vicious weather phenomena out on the plains around us? Let's see what's surround us. But the Coleraine city is located, built into the mile-wide pit left by a collapsed underground mega structure. That's cool. That's a cool city. Okay, what do we have around it then? 19, Volcano. Oh my god. Oh, what is this? This is a very hostile place. So Volcano. Right, let's table the Volcano for now because I have an idea what else I want to do next. But let's go with the Volcano. Then the next thing we have is canyons. Okay. Additionally, we get another volcano. Okay, so we can infer then that we are in a region surrounded by lots of volcanic activity. Are you kidding? Okay, so we've rolled Volcano 3 times now. That leaves one more. 11 megaplex. The ruins of a single huge ancient structure stretch for endless miles. Okay, so we are settling in a place. Why the hell is this city? Why build here? It's like we're in a pit surrounded by volcanoes in a field of ancient ruins that is also cleft through with canyons. I mean, it's cool and all, but why the hell would you... Well, that's for us to figure out, I guess. Why are they here? Because they obviously are here. We just decided that this is where the megacity is. It's gotta be somewhere near the... There has to be some waterway connection or something here as well. So maybe there is like a sea access point as well. Otherwise, the whole trade and supply definitely wouldn't work in this kind of area. But there definitely is a mega city here. It has a lot of implications as well, and maybe there's like mushroom farming and all kinds of things. But why are they here? The only reason I can really think of why they're here and why there are also so many people from different nations here is that it implies a very important resource that can only be found in this former megastructure. This is why there was always something here, this surrounded by volcanoes area, and this definitely implies a rare resource. So I'm gonna make a note of this. Otherwise the city here makes absolutely no sense. Maybe the resource is to be found in this ancient ruin field, which is haunted or occupied by horrendous creatures. And that's also why it attracts so many adventurers, because that's how you can make a living. You can go in there and the foolhardy do this. And then there's a whole infrastructure catering to them and guilds and all this. There's a lot of implications we can draw from just these little nuggets of information that we have now. But one thing I would like to do, at least for some of the terrain features, and I think we can combine the volcanoes into one, is we can also do terrain feature details. So we can give ourselves some more insights into these terrain features. And I think I want to do that. So I think I want to roll the collapsed deep first. The pit, as it was called. So we flesh out the pit with a 1 roll where we roll 1 die of every type, except for the percentage die, and consult a set of beautiful tables that tell us a bit more about this feature. Okay, let's take it from the top again. How populated is the feature? I think we're gonna have to overrule this because we already decided that. So even though the die told us that it's almost unpopulated, we decide it is, of course, teeming with people. That's kind of the risk I take from, having a few predefined things that sometimes I'll have to contradict the dice. The D6 tells us about how dangerous it's feature. It's a death zone for all but the strongest. So the city is extremely dangerous, but not only I think this is not only a statement of the city, but immediately surrounding the city, the areas of the pit that aren't settled and aren't protected are lethal. So the areas around the city in the pit are lethal, and life in Coleraine is deadly. Then we have a D8. What use is this feature, this depth 8? A mighty working is still functioning there. Okay, so I think this is an implication of the setting that is sort of baked into some of these that we can easily work around. We can just interpret what a working is for us. That's also maybe, again, another reason why this city is down there. So maybe there is oh, that could be cool. That there is a piece of machinery, magical tech working that makes it possible to inhabit the area. So there's like a protective magic technical bubble that is powered by a sort of generator that nobody understands anymore. And outside of it, it's a death zone, and inside of it, the city thrives. That's cool. Yeah, okay. While I was writing this up, I already had an idea again. So I wrote, a mighty working creates a protective barrier that makes life in the pit possible, but nobody fully understands how it works, although the Artificer Guild claims to know how to maintain it. So there is a powerful guild that claims to know how to maintain this, and so far they've done so successfully because not everyone has died yet. So then we hop on to the die 10. That was a result of 5. What kind of event last happened there? 5. A major nest of bandits or raiders formed. So at the moment, do we have bandits or raiders in the city, or is this more something that threatens the resource, the magical? I guess we can phrase it as that a new gang of cutthroats and bandits have started to prey on, in a very organized fashion, those who brave the field of ruins to search for this resource, this magical resource maybe that we still have to determine, and that this is the recent thing. So they are not in the city, they are preying on, they are out in the death zone, in the stalker zone, when it comes to me, and they are preying on the stalkers that go into the ruins and get stuff out. And again, I had an idea while writing it down. Cutthroats that are unusually organized prey on the stalkers of the ruin fields for their found treasures, and rumor says that the decadent empire is behind it, and that's why they're so organized and well equipped. What antagonists are common? 10 rapacious local lords and gang bosses. Okay. Rapacious local lords and gang bosses squeeze the corrupt city. So the city itself is also teeming with gang activity and local lords that just want to get their share of the pie. And then we have an optional quirk of the feature, which is the die 20. 6. It subtly changes those who live there. I'm calling this just minor magical mutations. So maybe somebody who lives there for longer, all of a sudden their eye color changes, or they attain the ability to breathe underwater, or their voice all of a sudden takes on a character where they speak in 3 different voices, or something freaky like that. So I think there is like a residual magic in this whole area that is to do with this unique resource that also means that this megaplex was here, and that this city is now here, and that these ruin fields are being explored for it. So we have our MacGuffin, our magical MacGuffin that is driving this culture. I think we should do the same for the Volcano. So we should also do a 1-roll feature for this. So I'll just mark this down as volcanoes because there are a lot of them, and then we check in with a D4, which tells us very few settlers and workers there. That makes sense. I would have even expected less, but I think maybe there are some foolhardy that are looking there also for, I don't know, mining or just settling because of some religious reason, or maybe there's like indigenous peoples, like volcano adapted demi-humans, something of the sort. I think we don't need to explore that very deeply. We can move on to the die 6, which tells us how dangerous is the feature. It's got some site-specific flavors of peril, you bet. I wrote that down as hot boiling magma. And then we can see the die 8. What use is the feature? The die 8 gave us a 7. Uncontrolled, it's a nest of raiders and worse. Okay, so I'll put the worse in quotation marks. So this can be anything from like demons, dragons, pick your fire association, poison. We can figure that out if we ever go there, or if we decide that something comes down from the volcano to threaten the city. For now, I think it's just good to know that there is something there that fits the theme. Then we have the die 10 that gives us an 8, which is some grim and terrible thing has awoken. Oh god, they dug too deep. What is that now? Some grim and terrible thing has awoken. Can we give this a bit more oomph? I think I'll go with the dragon names from the Book of Random Tables 5, just to give it a name. That doesn't mean it has to be a dragon, but we can decide what it is afterwards. We just need to kind of bookmark that the volcanoes have seen the awakening of, well, whoever it is that we roll up now. That is a 42 and is Irugu the White. Okay, we don't know what that is yet, but it's definitely terrible and it's awake now, which probably doesn't help its mood unless someone brings it coffee. I am ever so slightly a fool because I just pushed all the dice away, so I don't know if these are actually the result that I rolled, but we're gonna play it as it lays. So I'm gonna take the next 2 and assume these were the results. I think I just moved them without tipping them, so hopefully it was a 2 on the die 12 and a 4 on the die 20, which the 2 is angry cultists of a local fate. Okay, so there is an angry cult. An angry cult resides in the mountains. Is this perhaps the cult of Irugu the White? We could ask an oracle, yes, no question. So we could say 51 plus, it's Irugu's cult. 52, okay. The cult of Irugu. I guess we are too late in creating our adventurer because Irugu has already been awakened by his cult and we weren't there to stop them. Except we're also probably going to play an urban thief in this campaign, which means we're probably never going to stop them. And the 4 is time and space sometimes slip there. Oh geez, okay. Again with that magical residue, huh? That's probably like the... Something happened here. Maybe this megaplex, these ruins were wiped out at some magical cataclysm. A god died here, or that is something we can figure out eventually. I think we don't necessarily need to go too deep into the details of the canyons or the megaplex. I think the megaplex specifically we need to sort of keep a little bit mysterious as we define it through our play, because that might be somewhere where we go. That might actually be something that is of interest to a character if we play like a ruined delver. That's a bit too much like my Ironsworn character actually, but anyway, like it could be that one of our adventures takes us out of the protective bubbles into the death zone, and we have to like delve the megaplex. Anyway, so where were we? Create 6 nations or groups of importance. You can use page 124 for inspiration, but don't worry about the fine details. What is page 124? Let's find out. I think we're actually going to skip this one because that is an entirely separate video I was planning to make where we dive into the factions, and I think we have to scale that to a city level, so we have to like define not only the factions that have a stake in the city, which is probably also, again, the Decadent Empire, the Empire of Unity. We need to set those up as factions, the major players, the outside and inside players, and then define those as factions. So I think that for me means that is going to be a separate video. We'll jump over that now and turn to the regionally significant gods, because I think that is something we can easily create, and then we roll the whole factions, history per nation and faction, relationships and faction statistics into one entire separate video that only deals with factions, because I'm also very tempted for this series, this Scarlet Heroes series, to look into the faction turn rules that they have here, to have these factions, these major players, drive the history and the story of the city, because the city is going to be like the main character besides the main character of the series. So to have the factions bring some organic happenings that don't just depend on the character as the aggregator to us. So we'll roll that into a separate video, and we'll just jump to the regionally significant gods here. There is a religion construction set of tables, which I think we can use, but maybe we can also have some thoughts about why there are regionally significant gods, and maybe also what the nature of this world is. I think in our first idea of the spirit world and parallel reality, we say that it is fairly chaotic, that there are many different planes of existence, and that this is a realm of many gods. And I'm always tempted to wonder why that is, and to explain to myself the cosmology. And I'm always automatically also jumping to fantasy worlds having these worldwide active gods. And maybe the reason that we don't have that, and that we have such a fracturing of the divine into so many different actors, is that in the distant past, or maybe even not so distant past, maybe it also has something to do with this leveling of the megaplex and the opening of the deep of the city. Maybe we can find that out when we explore the history. The main gods, the pantheon, the worldwide pantheon, died, was wiped out. And while there were always these smaller gods, these regional gods, let's say the big ones, the big shots don't exist anymore, or they have perished in maybe some cataclysmic battle of the gods long ago, and made way for like the lesser second generation to hold the place. And also maybe that whole unleashed divine energy from a dying god then fostered just a very fertile ground for new gods to spring up. And if like a minor demon gets worshipped by enough cult, maybe it becomes a god, or it can elevate it through apotheosis. So maybe becoming a god in this world isn't that hard comparatively, and it has happened before. So I could see that as being a very fluid thing, where maybe even these smaller gods, these local gods, that you could even encounter them somewhere because they are manifesting locally as well. So that could be a thing. So the old gods died. The old gods died in a cataclysm. The free divine energy lays out a fertile ground for a vast plethora of new, smaller, more local deities. I think that is sort of the groundwork that we have, and now we need to come up with a couple. I think we can roll that as well. So we can create maybe one god. Maybe this is the patron god of Coleraine, and we can now roll a die 12 to figure out the origin of the god. 10. It was a tamed or placated supernatural entity. Okay, so the patron god is some kind of supernatural entity turned deity, and placated, that actually makes me think, like, also with the general sword and sorcery theme and the religion being somewhat twisted generally, and the gods not being the most benevolent as a general rule, maybe this is some kind of hybrid between god to some, demon to others, where this city, as it's corrupt and also somewhat festering with greed, probably picks a god that has a connection to this location. So maybe this is some kind of, well, for lack of a better term, Balrog or something that got placated somehow and turned into the figurehead of this city of Coleraine. Maybe we can derive a little bit more of its nature through the rest of this religion. So we can roll a die 20 to get the god's roll. 14, it gives good luck to its petitioners. That almost makes me think more like a trickster god or patron of commerce or something like that, which maybe it's some kind of Rakshasa type. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with that. It's a placated Rakshasa that is placated by human sacrifice, because I think they're cannibals, but it grants good luck to its petitioners, but like the kind of monkey's paw good luck sometimes. Let's maybe jump into the Dungeon World supplement again to generate a name, this time from a different table. Rakshasa, as far as I'm aware, is male generally, so let's go with a male name. 54 gives us Irvan. Okay, so Irvan the Terrible is the patron deity of this slowly getting slightly horrendous megacity in a horrible part of the world. We could also, besides luck, we can maybe give him a different domain as well. That is a d20 roll. 17. Theft or crime? Oh god, I like this. This is perfect for a thief character. This is the patron saint of the city that we're in. Let's give ourselves maybe one more god. Maybe we can either come up with somebody even worse, or we can find some kind of counterweight for this one, like for the nasty male deity. Maybe we get a nastier or somewhat nicer female deity. That could be something we could do. So we have the nasty father of Coleraine. Now see what kind of mother we get. 2, it's a legendary historical hero or teacher. Okay, so some heroine achieved apotheosis. Interesting. What's the domain? 1, it's the war god or patron of those who fight. Makes sense for heroine. Let's give a human concern or a natural principle as well. 19, war. And the natural principle is time. I like these little synergies, but it's also the Lady of Time. Okay. So we have the Goddess of War, Lady of Time, as the more rigid, solid pillar of this otherwise chaotic city. And maybe the war aspect, those who fight, is a bit of an aspect of you're up against fairly impossible odds in a horrible mega city like this with all its greedy local lords and gang bosses. So you trust either in the luck of the one that takes from others, or you trust in the strength of the one who fights against all of this. And yeah, maybe the time as in sort of the implacable move forward. It's not a very sympathetic goddess, but it's not a very sympathetic city. So I think that would work. Do we get a name as well? I think we do. This time we get a female one. Let's roll on the table. We haven't rolled before yet. 22. That is Daraja. Okay, so Daraja, the Lady of Time, and Irvan, the Bastard of Crime, I guess. And maybe we'll leave it at that with the named, fleshed out gods for now. I think we can assume there is the Temple of the Healer goddess somewhere that is more revered in aspects of herself. Maybe that is a remnant of the old pantheon that people still assume is out there. And while I'm saying it, I might as well write it down. So it's like the healer goddess revered in some aspects throughout the world. That's maybe an exception to the rule, where generally speaking the gods are more local, but this is a local aspect of recurring theme of the goddess of mercy. Let's have a name for that one as well. 29, Erzsébet. I think that is probably, as far as names go, about the farthest you can get from wholesome healing goddess. If that merits a reroll for me, so we get 97, Viola. Okay, so Viola is the goddess of mercy in this part of the world and is revered. But now I'm going to stop building gods because we can kind of stumble into more gods as we design our adventures and start raiding various smaller temples and things like that if we're being a proper sword and sorcery thief. So that is definitely an option and a possibility to generate a few more. But for now, I think we're satisfied with the patron deity, the sort of stability counterweight, and the global spanning healer deity. We still need to build factions in a separate video, and we also still need to flesh out the history of the factions and the kingdom of the megacity, as well as the ethnic makeup and problems and goals, etc. I think we need the factions first, so that'll be the next video. And for now, I thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time, and bye.